is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is the dimension we call the...
Oh, sorry. That was just me doing a reenactment of the Twilight Zone, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. Okay, anyway, I want to talk about dreams. Not like goals and aspirations, no. Sleep time hallucinations, bizarre alterations of the mind, unreality. Okay, cool, but that's so freaking random. So why? And what does that have to do with the Twilight Zone anyway? Oh, okay, well actually, I've been thinking about reality a lot lately. All that is, or all that we think is, and how vividly all that can change during a few seconds of sleep. I mean, just what exactly is going on during that whole process? You see, dreams open doors to a new dimension. One that blends reality and knowledge with that which is unknown, feared, treasured, or imagined. The mental state between reality and fantasy, where metaphysical boundaries are pushed, creating something mysteriously fantastic, a twilight zone of sorts. We've asked questions about dreams for millennia, but still, there are many things about them we don't understand. Why does the mind seem to have a mind of its own? What is it actually saying in a dream? And what does that reveal about the human spirit? There are a lot of things considered mysteries of life. Do we have free will, or is it all just an illusion? Is there life on other planets? What happens after we die? But up there with these is the mystery surrounding the very instrument we rely on to provide answers to life's questions, the human brain. How is information coded in neural activity within this blob, this organ, that somehow is able to store all our lived experiences? How do specialized areas of the brain relate with one another? And what really is consciousness? These are questions that neuroscientists have been trying to answer for years, but you will rarely find one answer that dispels all the questions. We do know one thing though. The brain is responsible for putting you to sleep when you're tired and for creating your dreams. But how is the brain still active when your body, its vessel, is resting? Shouldn't it also be resting? Well, let's take a look at what happens in there. When you go to sleep, your brain cycles through 4 stages of sleep. Stages 1 to 3 are considered non-rapid eye movement sleep, where you transition from wakefulness into sleep. Your muscles relax, your heart rate, breathing, and blood pressure all slow down. Stage 4 is called rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep. Your body becomes immobilized and your eyes begin to dart around in their sockets. This is where dreams occur. In this state, your brain's activity closely resembles its activity while you are awake during the day. Now just think over the course of a day how much stimuli your brain takes in. All the sights, smells, and sounds around you. Your brain constantly filters this stimuli and only makes you aware of the important stuff. The rest it just kind of files away as extra because its primary function is to keep you alive by drawing your attention to important information. But when you're asleep, the brain now has all this time to start processing all this sensory information in interesting ways. The images start to fly all over the place. Sounds and other sensory information follow them, and your brain begins to write a story. It creates a dream. But as we know, not all sleep dreams are the same. There are different kinds of dreams. There are normal dreams, which are just the usual dreams about people or experiences that we can easily forget. There are precognitive dreams, in which people have reported this almost psychic ability to be able to predict the future through their dreams. A famous example of this was the dream Abraham Lincoln had about his assassination 10 days before it happened. One of his friends, Ward Hill Lamon, said that President Lincoln dreamed of the subdued sobs of mourners and a corpse lying in the East Room of the White House. In the dream, President Lincoln asked a soldier standing guard, "Who is dead in the White House?" And the soldier replied, "The president. He was killed by an assassin." At that point, Lincoln woke up and he told his friend that the dream had strangely annoyed him ever since. 10 days after having the dream, Lincoln was killed by an assassin. Similar to precognitive dreams, but not exactly the same, are those dreams that give birth to ideas. For example, famous inventors dreaming an idea and that idea becoming reality. So it's sort of like inspiration instead of predicting the future. And fun fact, Albert Einstein's theory of relativity was actually developed this way. He dreamed he was walking through a farm where a group of cows were standing together by an electric fence, and he saw the cows jump back at the same time. Meanwhile, the farmer, who was a bit far from him, saw the cows jump one by one in a sort of Mexican wave. He concluded that events look different depending on where you're standing because of the time it takes for the light to reach your eyes. The theory of relativity. There are also lucid dreams, which are dreams in which you realize you're dreaming and you begin to take control over the events of your dreams. It's sort of like a video game simulation, which to me could even be described as a heightened state of conscious unconsciousness. And finally, nightmares. Disturbing dreams associated with intense negative feelings, usually taking our biggest or most irrational fears or concerns and building on them. Some researchers believe that dreams have absolutely no meaning and they are just the brain being weird. Others believe that dreams help us remember our past experiences by turning them into long-lasting memories. Some believe dreams are divine communication with warnings or revelations. And others say that dreams are just essential for physical and emotional health, representing a healthy mind and body. Well, whatever the case, these are all just theories and opinions. No one knows for sure, and no one will know for sure.
Now, here's where dreams come in. They tell you what you are trying to hide, but they tell it to you all mixed up like pieces of a puzzle that don't fit. The problem of the analyst is to examine this puzzle and put the pieces together in the right place and find out what the devil you are trying to say to yourself.
In the early 20th century, Austrian neurologist Sigmund Freud established the discipline of psychoanalysis, a set of theories and therapeutic techniques that dealt with the unconscious mind and mental disorders. He believed that getting people to make their unconscious thoughts conscious would give them insight and would cure them. And that is essentially the whole point of psychoanalysis, to release repressed emotions and experiences so that you can understand yourself better.
The secrets of who you are and what has made you run away from yourself, all these secrets are buried in your brain, but you don't want to look at them. The human being very often doesn't want to know the truth about himself because he thinks it will make him sick. So he makes himself sicker, trying to forget. You follow this?
Freud would have patients lie down on a couch and he would take notes while asking them about their childhood and their dreams. Just like you see in movies, the typical psychologist and patient scene. From all his sessions, Freud was convinced that everybody had repressed wishes within them. Things that they really want but don't admit, or things that they don't even know that they want, and that dreams were a disguised fulfillment of those wishes. For that reason, he concluded that dreams were the easiest method to study the mind.
The mind is everything. If you think you've got a pain in your arm and there's no physical reason for it, it hurts just the same, doesn't it?
Granted.
Freud theorized that dreams are made in two parts. the manifested content, or the stuff that you remember when you wake up, and the latent content, the stuff that you don't remember. He proposed that the latent content is made up of the sensory impressions during the night of the dream, the leftover stuff from the day before, and the three concepts that make up the human psyche: the id, the superego, and the ego. Suppose I'm craving an apple, and I see an apple on a table that clearly belongs to someone else, but I take it anyway. That is the id working, the immature personality that is driven by the desire to fulfill basic needs. I want it, so I'll have it. Now let's say I see that apple, but I decide not to take it because that would be wrong. You can't just go around taking stuff that doesn't belong to you. That is the superego putting the id in check. It's sort of like the moral compass. And the ego would tell me that I shouldn't take someone else's apple, but instead I could go buy one for myself. The ego rationalizes the interaction between the id and the superego, and it offers solution to problems. According to Freud, these three concepts make up the latent content of your dreams, or the stuff you don't remember, because they're already part of your day-to-day decision-making process. However, during sleep, your superego is weakened because your motor neurons don't work that well, since your body is kind of paralyzed. And this makes it easier for the id to fulfill all its wishes, because the superego isn't there to keep it in check. So essentially, the dream is like a playground for the mind, where the individual's deepest desires are fulfilled without them having to be conscious.
You are afraid.
Only because this isn't happening. This is a dream. I'm not here, I'm at home, asleep. And you're part of that dream.
I know that.
You do?
Of course. Come.
Okay, so this all sounds very convincing. But just remember that these are all theories, even though Freud was pretty convinced that they were facts. But the complexity and novelty of the subject was the reason why at the time, psychoanalysis was such a huge deal. No one had ever gone this deep into dreams. But love him or hate him, Freud is a big reason why we've gained so much insight into the inner workings of the mind. And since Freud, there have been many other influential psychologists who have offered their own perspective on dream interpretation by building on Freud's work or by challenging it. So this is all fascinating stuff, but why do we always feel like our dreams have to mean something? Isn't it possible that a dream is just a dream and nothing more? But the human mind doesn't work like that. It is constantly hungry for inquisition and explanation. And so we believe that our dreams must mean something. There was this psychology study done in Boston, Massachusetts, where 182 commuters were asked to imagine that one of 4 scenarios had happened the night before a scheduled trip. The first was that the national threat level was raised to level orange, which is the second highest level. Second was that they had been thinking about the plane they were going to board crashing. Third was that they had dreamed about a plane crash. And the fourth was that a real plane crash had actually occurred on the route they would be taking. And what the psychologists found was quite interesting. The results showed that the dream about the plane crash was more likely to make them scrap their travel plans than thinking about a plane crash or than a government warning. This study is super fascinating because it just illustrates how important dreams are to the average person. But even more intriguing is that psychologists report that people appear to use motivated reasoning when interpreting their dreams. In other words, they're more likely to view dreams that confirm their waking beliefs and desires as more meaningful than dreams that contradict their waking beliefs and desires. Dreams are universal, and since the very beginning, all world cultures have had their own unique perspectives on them. In ancient Egypt, the dream world was said to exist between the land of the living and the land of the dead, and dreams were seen as communications from the spirits. They also believed that dreams could enable them see the future. The ancient Greeks were known to regard dreams as advice from the gods. They would even perform certain rituals in the temple for the oracle to interpret their dreams. Ancient cultures also used to practice this thing known as dream incubation, which is where you imagine something you want to dream about and you keep repeating it to yourself and visualizing it so that you actually do dream about it. In religious scriptures, dreams are regarded as God's way of communicating with the prophets or people, as we see several times in the Bible, for example. On a basic level, one underlying factor among world cultures is the belief that dreams are a connection between worlds, a bridge to understanding not just the mind, but perhaps the will of God. And if you think of the world today, you realize how much these ancient cultures and institutions have influenced spirituality in our modern cultures. As culture shapes a large part of your ethical code, your religion, values, norms, and practices, it will naturally influence how you interpret dreams as well. I'm Nigerian, okay, and I know that generally Nigerians are raised with very strong spiritual or religious values. Now, because of that fact, majority of Nigerians will view their dreams as deep or symbolic rather than not, especially the more intense dreams. But on the flip side, if you don't believe in God, or if your concept of morality doesn't operate within the context of religion, then you're less likely to interpret your dreams that way. So I think it's fair to say that culture is largely responsible for what we dream and how we dream. To the human mind, the essence of dreams is constructed not in one philosophy or hypothesis, but in many, the correctness of which are uncertain, concealed. The mysteries of dreams lie in what they could reveal to us about ourselves, deep truths we try to avoid, hidden desires that only our unconscious minds know, or simply erratic brain activity. Regardless, the dream is a journey of the mind relative to the individual, whose experiences, values, and biological composition manifest the inner workings of the mind.
They say a dream takes only a second or so. And yet in that second, a man can live a lifetime. He can suffer and die, and who's to say which is the greater reality? The one we know or the one in dreams? Between heaven, the sky, the earth, in the Twilight Zone.